So the king is just that mad that he decides to send his biggest, toughest, mightiest guards or army people to tie up Shamrock, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning furnace. One, why did he send this big, mighty guys up against these men that was never in the army? Because it didn't say Meshach, Shamrock, or Abednego was in the army. They hung out with Daniel. Daniel is a wise man. He's almost like one of the prophets and stuff like that. Wise men, prophets, stuff like that. And they hung with Daniel. So they wasn't in the army. So what on earth? Why would he have to send his mightiest men and then tie them up? It wasn't like when they brought Shamrock, Meshach, and Abednego to the king that they was fighting and tussling and trying to get away or nothing like that. No, they walked over there perfectly fine and was like, he was like, so you guys not worshiping or bowing down to my image, right? My golden statue I made, right? They're like, no. They wasn't fighting. They wasn't saying nothing. They wasn't doing anything that shows sign of, showed any type of signs of bring your big mighty guys up against them. It was nothing like that needed any of that. But he chose, the king was just that mad. He chose to bring out his mightiest men, guards, to come and tie them up. Tied them up as well, y'all. But you know what? That worked out so good and so amazing. Because now God is really finna show you something now. You thought he showed you something with that dream where Daniel prayed to God to ask God for the secret of the dream. Not only just the secret of the dream, but the dream itself, since the king decided not to tell anyone about his dream. He wanted the person that can tell the interpretation of the dream to also tell the dream first and then the interpretation without them knowing about the dream. So now God has to show up and show out again in front of this guy. Okay. Because he didn't learn the first time. So here it is. He's finna learn now. So then these men were bound in their coats, in their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king commands was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, meaning so hot, the flames of the fire killed those men who took up Shamrock, Meshach, and Abednego. Just because you had your mightiest men to come and tie Meshach them up and throw them into the furnace, the ones that was killed was your mighty men. Okay, Meshach them, Shamrock, Meshach, and Abednego, they are in the flames now. And these three men, Shamrock, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound. They fell, still tied up in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. They are in the furnace now. They fell, tied up still. Who died first from the looks? The mighty men that you had tied up, these men that wasn't harming anyone. How I picture them is that they couldn't even harm a fly. That's how I picture them, because they were such wise prophet type of men that they wouldn't even hurt a soul. So to have your mightiest men tie them up, throw them in the furnace. Well, It goes to show your mightiest men could not stand the test of time with that fire, though. So anyway, therefore, because the king commanded that, the flame killed the other guys that threw him in there. Meshach, Shamrach, and Abednego fell down, bonded into the midst of the burning, fiery furnace. The king, Nebuchadnezzar, was astonished, and he rose in hesed and spoke, saying to his counselor, "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire?" Excuse me. They answered and said to the king, "True, O king." "Look," he answered, "I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the form of the fourth is like the Son of God." Look at God's power here. Oh my gosh. Look at God's power here. Now the 2 men, or the 3 men that threw Shamrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the flames, they got burnt from the flames and the fire and was killed from that. They wasn't even in it. The flames that was coming out of it is what consumed them, which is what killed them. But Shamrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they are in the furnace. In it. The fiery burning 7 times hotter than it ever has been furnace. They are in it. And they are not burning. And not only did the king say he see a 4th man. A 4th one. And all 4 men are loose, walking in the midst of the fire. That means, of course, it was so hot that those ropes that was bounding them melted off, ashes off, whatever you want to call it, is no longer on them. And not only that, they are walking around in the fire with the Son of God. Whew. Whew. How good is that? How good is that? Lord, how good is that? They are walking around in this fire with the Son of God. And the king was so confused right about now. He was like, hold on. Am I seeing this correctly? Then we put 3 men up in there. Then why am I seeing a 4th one? And what's so crazy is that, yes, he seen the 4th one, but he also said this, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. So he can tell that it's God. He could see him. It definitely wasn't just Shamrach, Meshach, and Abednego only up in there. And in the King James Version, it says, "He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God." I'll be back.